Welcome to episode 56. It is the 1st of May 25. We're battling the weather today. We've got our regular and co-host, Mr. John Killick. He's going to pop in one sec. He's just to my right. We're here in Chippendale, Bartley Street, Dangar Street and Dangar Place, where we did the Lanfranchi one. Today, George Freeman. George Freeman, folks, he's been done before, but he hasn't been done by us. And when John comes in, we've got a contact as well, and we've found out a lot of little extra information. We stand here, just behind us, this building on the corner of Bartley here, which is a very fashionable designer place now. Well, it actually used to be one of George Freeman's gambling places. We'll explain more. Mr. John Killick, good morning. I've just got me bloody hat there. Good morning, sir. How are you?
Nice to see you. It's great.
Nice to see you. I'll have to get the jacket out in a minute. It's the weather's gone to crap.
Well, it's probably going to rain again, but
I think so.
We're lucky. We can probably get this bit done. But
yep.
This one over here, as you said, it's a very important designer place now. I think it's going to do really well with the people that are running it.
Yeah.
Give them a plug. That's the plug.
I will. Yeah, we will give them a plug. I don't know. We spoke to the young lady. She was lovely, and I don't know her name, but it's a designer fashion place. Anna. That's it. Anna. Lovely Anna. Yeah. G'day, Anna. Anyway, you're all right. There's someone want to walk across. Walk across. Go for it. That's fine. There you go.
You're a TV star.
You're in the movies now. Yeah. That's just a lady going across. Sorry about that. Righto. He had various places around the city, John, as you well know.
Well, yeah.
And this is one of them.
Well, this wasn't really George's, but he was involved in it.
Yep.
There was, everybody would have heard of Tomo's two-up in Sydney. He was very famous two-up for many years.
Yep.
And it closed down, and because of different political parties getting in, they closed a lot of these places down. George had already been involved in different gambling places, which we will mention in the 70s, which we'll mention after. But this one here is important because the guy who actually opened it, he was a bit of a legend in the racing world. And, of course, George was mad on the pun and became a pretty famous SP bookie and loved horses. And the guy, old Jack Sparrow, lived till he was nearly 100.
You've mentioned him a few times.
He was quite a character, but he knew so much about his early 90s, I think, when he died, maybe mid-90s. But he went over to Royal Ascot. He shouldn't have gone there.
England, yeah.
Yeah, he shouldn't have gone. He wasn't in the best health, and he actually had a stroke, I think, while he's in the box, watching an important race. And
poor bugger.
if he didn't do that, he probably would have lasted longer. But Jack was a bit of a legend, and he's the one that opened it, but George was involved.
Yep.
And if you look up there, you can see just right up there,
just behind us, folks.
They made it so if the police raided, you had a cockatoo up one of the windows up there. And
get a shot of that, Maccas.
He
has. Yeah, it's a cockatoo, which is a lookout.
Yeah,
was right up here.
Yeah, he could see right up there, across there, down there, and so if the cops came, they knew straight away. And by the time they got in, they had the entrance there was barred.
Would they have another one, John, up the corner here, on the corner as well? Like there'd be two. Would they have another bloke out? Or?
No, they only had him. But the thing is, all the windows you can see they were barred, and they were barred then, and the entrance was barred. The police had a hell of a time getting in, but in those days it was farcical because they were illegal. And the police would ring up and say, "Look, we're going to raid you in 15 minutes." So they were ready anyway.
They were ready, yeah.
They were ready anyway, and what they'd let you know in case you might have been on a run for bank robbery or something like that, or you'd slip out the back, you'd go.
Yeah, that's it.
That's the way it used to work in those days.
Absolutely. Yeah. Mate, we'll give a little bit of a background of George himself. Born in 1935. He didn't live a long life.
Guess what?
What's that?
You're an Elvis fan, right?
I'm a big Elvis fan.
George was born 14 days after Elvis.
So he was 22nd, Elvis was 8th.
Yeah, 22nd of January.
There you go. Elvis
was 35. Yeah.
There you go. There you go. I'm a big Elvis fan.
14 days later, he always talked about it.
There you go. Yeah. I think he was an Elvis fan too, I think, mate.
But
look, when he was a young bloke, he got done for a bit of shoplifting, gambling, and
Yeah.
50s through to the 60s.
George had showed himself. He's still around. He was a petty thief.
Yep.
I was. We all started that way.
Yep.
Petty thieves.
Lots of shoplifters.
Big, knew Darcy Durgan and all them, and Lenny McPherson, all those. And
well, he met Lenny in prison in the 50s, I believe, and that's where they became mates.
That's right.
Long Bay.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
And when he met Lenny, Lenny McPherson was the man as far as I remember when I went into jail in
Mr. Big?
Yeah, January. Not so much Mr. Big, but January 60. They'd talk about him in whispers. The Crims were scared of him. They said he was a professional killer, and he had this reputation at that stage. And it diminished later as people learnt more about Lenny. And a lot of people thought...
A lot of skeletons there with Lenny.
Well, when he teamed up with George, people thought Lenny was the man, but actually George was the man.
Yeah.
And but he had...
Sorry. Sorry. Sorry about that, folks. We'll continue. We're near the city, so yeah.
But Lenny had a lot of police connections.
Yep.
And
that's where George jumped on it, didn't he?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And so that's what he brought to the table, Lenny. The police connections, his notoriety.
And they were pretty good friends. And then he got straight into the SP bookies.
Well, they were good friends. And George, you've seen an Underworld in those shows. They got it so wrong. Because I spoke to a guy, as you know, who knew George like that.
Yep.
And he said that bit where they said, because they don't know what they're doing when they do these TV shows.
No, they haven't got any idea. Yeah. He's walking around the club with a wig and a smoke and, he didn't really do that.
They said, and Lenny said to George, listen, what you got to do is start up an SP, blah, blah. Lenny didn't bet, didn't gamble, didn't know anything about horses.
That's interesting.
Yeah, didn't know anything about horses. George was the guy who was good with horses, loved horses, was a good mathematician, good with figures, and probably could have made a bit of a living out of racing without doing what he did. But he became an SP bookie and one of the biggest, probably the biggest, I think, in Sydney in the 70s for sure, and early 80s for sure.
And he advanced with the telephone betting, I believe. And I was reading some information where they'd set up an office at Rockdale and had like 6 people working there just specifically for the phone bets.
Yeah, and that was just for that. They had a lot of important people betting with them, and they knew who to let on their word and who not to let on their word. But this one here was opened in the early 80s.
This was a big one.
Yeah, well, it's a big two-up thing for a while.
All up here.
Yeah, George was involved in a baccarat game down in Double Bay, and also one up at Potts Point, and another one in Chinatown. And not just baccarat, but
baccarat's huge.
Yeah,
it was a big game.
They played other games, poker. George used to play poker down in, and we'll show a photo of the place.
We've got some photos of various different locations
in Double Bay, and every Thursday night, I think it was, and he won a huge amount of money there one night. And he wasn't cheating, it was just, and I think the guy who won it off was bluffing, and George, and it was a huge amount of money. It'd be equal to about 400,000 today. That's
Whoa!
Just on one hand. Yeah, so it shows you what sort of games they were.
Yeah.
And that place, you'll see the photos. It's situated next to the old Woolworths down in Double Bay.
That's right.
It's not Woolworths anymore, and then next to it, that was the club. The place next. So if you ever go past there, you'll see it at Double Bay.
What's it? We've got Double Bay, Chinatown.
Yeah, Chinatown in Dixon Street. And you'll see we've got photos of that too. We've got photos of that. That's no longer a club, but and we've got a photo of a place opposite. So if anybody goes past, they'll be able to see and recognise that. That was a place there too that he ran with Tony Torrens. I think he was Hungarian guy, a huge gambler who came in a lot of money and set up. He's the one that set up the one at Double Bay.
Yeah,
and also was involved in the one there in China.
Yeah, Hungarians, you wouldn't piddle on their boots, mate. They don't take much shit, the Hungarians. They're tough sort of fellas. And
I've known a few Hungarians. Yeah, good chess players too.
Yeah. I had a Hungarian mate. He was a good guy, but he wouldn't take any.
No, they don't. Yeah, don't know. But, and the other one that George was involved with, we've got photos of that place too, up at Potts Point, and I think it's Rockwell Crescent. It's in.
Yeah,
and
you got all these photos, so
yeah, we got the photos. But that one, he ran George, the guy that actually ran it, and then George got involved. But the guy who actually ran it was Bruce Killick. Now he was Per Skillier's son. Now, Per Skillier used to run all the clubs in the old days. That's when Danny McPherson was involved with Perth. And what happened there is I used to go to those old clubs in the Victoria Avenue. No, but I was going there when I was 16, 17, you know. And
how bloody interesting, John. You're a wealth, mate.
Yeah, and I went in there and I remember when Per Skillier was there one night and he had the big diamond ring on his finger and he gave everybody a tip about this horse, and of course the horse got beat. He told a guy to put his house on. The first lost about.
That's the story.
Yeah, he lost about 50,000.
Oh, mate,
£50,000 in those days.
Huge
that's
money.
Like $500,000 today, maybe more.
Huge money.
On one horse. But the thing is, they were scary guys. They called him the Black Prince, and he was connected to the Cardinal and all this stuff you see about the mafia and all this stuff and the Catholic Church. They were all connected with the underworld in Sydney, and particularly down in Melbourne too. Yeah, people don't realise that those high up cardinals and archbishops, they were all involved with the gangsters. I'm not saying they were doing anything.
No.
They knew them. They knew them.
It's a crazy world, isn't it?
Yeah,
honestly,
it is. But and you often see in some of those famous books, was Power About Glory, Frank Hardy. They took him to court over it. He's the one that wrote about John Wren. Yeah. They called him John West in a book. And they took him to court because John West's the one that started all the illegal gambling down in Melbourne and started the tote. And he was like that with Squizzy Taylor. That was his right-hand man. And
you're right, champ.
He was connected.
You're right.
He was connected to the Archbishop down there. So, I mean, you just got to look at, they've said with a racetrack, George Freeman knew and worked on that fact that with a racetrack, once you step on a racetrack, and I used to go with Gloria, she worked for a judge, and he gave her tickets, and we got in the same lift.
Yeah.
And you got the judge, the bank robber, the pickpockets, the bloody
judge, coppers, judges, whatever,
multi-millionaires, all there
having a punt.
And don't give a stuff. They just want to back away.
They just want to have a punt. Have a punt.
Yeah.
Well, that could lead us as well to Chief Magistrate Murray.
Well, he was caught.
Good friend of George's.
He was caught at the race. A famous photo there with I think it was George Freeman, Murray Farquhar, and Dr. Nick Peldos.
Yes, that's correct. Yeah.
And finished up going to jail, Farquhar. He was a bad judge unless you the coppers had him soon. But if you had money, you could buy your way out. A lot of Crims bridemen got out.
The media were all over him at the time, and you said he went to jail.
Well, yeah, 4 years. 4 years. Yeah.
Where did you go, to Berrima? So we like VIP.
Well, he probably did. I'm not sure where he went. I know he went to Bathurst for a little while, which is a tough jail. But I think he went to a farm from there. But the fact is that the racetrack, like a guy said to me, that when you step on the racetrack, off goes a head and on goes a pumpkin.
Yeah, that's right.
And George capitalised on that. He knew.
Yeah.
And he made a lot of money. But he also, I think what we should point out, because people think, well, he did it all like that, but with the clubs, he had connections with these clubs.
Yep.
But he didn't necessarily run them. He might have been partners in them and played there as well, like the one down at they play every Thursday night at Vaucluse, Double Bay. But what he did do, any trouble with the clubs, big business, anything around the cross, all around that area, they'd go to George. George would fix it up.
Lenny, Stan.
He had Stan the man behind him too. Stan Smith, very.
That was the muscle, and that's the great connection.
Yeah. Well,
to have that backup.
Well, you just wouldn't stuff around with Stan the man. You wouldn't stuff around, and you wouldn't stuff around with Lenny first. Funny enough, Stan the man turned religious towards the end of his life.
He did. Yeah. Those later years, he was in Gladesworth.
He wrote to me, wanted to help Lucy when she got out.
That's it. Yeah. I seen a video where he was getting baptised. Some people say he was fair income, and other people saying
no. He was fair income.
Yeah, good.
No, I've spoken to people who knew him pretty much fair income. It hurt him. His son died of drug overdose. That hurt him a bit. But guys like Stan, they did a lot of wrong things, bad things, and he tried to repent with it. A lot of people do turn religion, and that's what he did. But
I think he died there at Gladesville. I think he had a heart attack or something in the kitchen.
Yeah, I'm not sure where he died, but yeah. But yeah, he was pretty heavy. And when you had Freeman, McPherson, and Stan a man,
right?
Yeah, you're just not going to.
You're not going to. You're going to get your head red if you're going to mess with that.
You're not going to fall out of him. But George was the guy who called the shots, and I don't think people realise that. You know? And he died. I think it was the 20th of March, 1990. So,
that's correct.
Yeah,
55.
Yeah, he was. How old was he? 55.
55.
Yeah.
But a huge smoker apparently as well. Huge 50, 60 a day.
Yeah.
Type thing. And asthma.
Plus he had asthma.
Asthma.
Well, he nearly died. I think he died of asthma.
I think as I'd looked at it, people said he had a heart attack and dropped dead. No, he had a massive asthma attack, which brought on heart failure.
Yeah. So, and don't forget, he got shot in 78. 12 years before that, he got shot in the neck.
And he chased the bloke. Oh, we're going to bring that up. He actually chased the bloke after there was one attempt on his life.
Well, the guy that knew him pretty well at the time of the story, I won't tell the whole story here, but the fact is that when he came home, his two dogs, he had a Rottweiler and another one, very, very heavy dogs, and they didn't bark. So he knew something was on. He knew something was wrong, but before he could do anything, the guys ran up and shot him, but his half speed. I think he got him in the neck.
Just grazed him. Yeah. But the story was he legged him. He was after him.
Yeah, for a bit, but the guy got away. But the thing is, that was a bad move doing that because he nearly died, nearly bled to death. But he was like there's a doctor next door.
Jeez.
Yeah, and otherwise it's fate. Otherwise you're dead man.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, dead man.
Well, I mean. That going back to that led to he purchased in 78 at Yowie Bay the mansion. It was called Dallas, and that was when he purchased it. And I believe he sold it in 87.
Yeah.
So things were going good, but he bought it off, I believe, a former businessman, dodgy businessman gambler, and it had walls, barbed wire, CC, the whole lot. And he loved his dogs. I've heard.
Yeah, he did, but. The guy who shot him, we're not going to mention now who it was, but the guy who shot him was later killed.
Yeah, I wonder how that happened.
I'm not saying anything.
Yeah, we don't know anything. I don't know. We don't know anything. I've got to thank the gentleman today as well. That was a great contact of ours. Thank you, sir. No names.
Point of information.
Yep. Yeah.
Mind of information.
Yeah. No, I heard him.
Photographic memory on horses.
Yep. Yep.
And he and I had a great talk about horses because I've got a pretty good memory on horses. And we had
you got a good memory, full stop.
Yeah.
But,
what's your name?
Little fella. Yeah. No. So things were going pretty good for him.
No, he started to taper off. Yeah. Look, he was right at his peak in the 70s and 80s.
Yep. Take those off so I can see. Yep.
Yeah. When I say the 80s, like the early and mid 80s, that's when he had this with Jack. But it was tapering off at the end. But he still had plenty of money and whatnot. And the thing is, he had a beautiful wife. She's still alive today.
I believe so. It was his second wife.
The other one, I think, went till 77. And after that, he met Georgina. Yeah.
And his son. So he had his son got into a bit of trouble some years ago with a bit of drugs and stuff. But I think he's cleaned up and on the up and up. I wish him the best. You know?
Yeah. No, I never met the son.
Yeah. No, through some research, he got nicked for some drugs or something or other.
But there's a book. He wrote a book, George. I think I had helped on it, but I just can't think of the name of it. I read it. It's worth reading because it's not a really long book, but it goes into his early life, stuff like that, you know. Yeah.
Look, he was a pretty intelligent bloke. He wasn't stupid.
No, George is smart. That's some people tend to, I think, they tend to underrate people who've been in jail. What people don't realise, he's one of the ones who went to Tamworth. He went to Gosford. See, he was just petty criminal early, and he got caught for stuff, and he went to Gosford, and then he went to Tamworth, which was the ABC did a documentary on it, School for Killers. There are 34 murders attributed to inmates of Tamworth.
Jeez.
They treated them like absolute monsters. The animals, they flogged them, bashed them, terrorised them. Billy Monday was there. I spoke to him about it. Neddy Smith was there. I spoke to him about it. George Freeman was
Copped
there.
a lot of abuse, Ned.
Yeah, Ned copped a lot of. That's what probably made him what he was.
Well, it sets you off, doesn't it?
Billy Monday said to me, and Billy Monday was a monster. If you turn out to be a monster, but he said to me, they actually did some bad things with a mate of his. They got out and kidnapped couples or trapped couples in lovers' lanes and that. Got to tie the bloke up, bashed him, and then raped a girl in front of him. And then he'd come up and put a gun to their head and say, "I'm going to kill you." And he said, "I wanted to see the fear in their eyes, like it was instilled in him." But that's what happened.
Through the abuse and
the abuse. What happened? That's what I said. The ABC, you should watch it, School for Killers, because
I'm going to check that out. Yeah.
It's an incredible. Maybe we should do a podcast one day about Tamworth, and because I knew a lot of those guys. Yeah,
it's an incredible pattern we keep coming back to, isn't it? It's a pattern.
Yeah.
It's bloody awful.
34 murders attributed to inmates from there, because they closed it down eventually. Yeah, but
bloody shocking.
I've written about it in some of my books, but the people I knew that went there, none of them were even normal after that. Yeah.
Well, anyway, don't get me started on that. I like it. Don't get me started. Look, what we're going to do is we might change locations.
Yeah.
I'll put a jacket on. The weather's going to shit here, folks. So we might just change a location, whack a jacket on. Little bloke's starting to freeze here, mate. And we'll continue on. But I mean, George basically. Once he had things going, from my research, he had judges, cops, everyone in the pocket.
Yeah.
And if there was going to be a raid, they'd know 5 minutes before.
Yeah.
Hence, a cockatoo would kick in. Yeah. They'd get tipped off, and everything. Going back to a point, you said it was difficult when they come in, and I researched some places where the cops are coming, and they make like a maze, all giving you that 2 or 3 minutes to clear out, sort of thing. This is all true, John? Yeah.
Well, they said it took them 2 minutes to get in there.
Yeah.
So whatever they had there, I don't know. But
they set up some false walls.
But most of the time they knew when they were coming anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, it's...
he never got nicked in those later years, George, did he?
Never got nicked.
Pretty much had it right.
He owned Farquhar. He owned him. And you went to George if you're in big trouble. And if you paid him the money, you'd see Farquhar and Farquhar.
I remember seeing it on the news at the time, and there was press all over him in his Mercedes and stuff, and he just wouldn't say anything. But, they were all over him for a while.
Yeah. Look, the thing is that you look at George Freeman and you see how much money is in gambling because some of the money that changed hands from what I've heard in these baccarat games, two-up games, were absolutely
huge amount.
Poker games, absolutely extraordinary. And these were illegal. You've got to remember, it's all illegal. What they won, they kept. It didn't go through bank accounts. It's
amazing what is illegal and what's not illegal in this country, isn't it? It's weird. But anyway, so we might do that, John. We might get a little closer to over there and pick up on a few things there. We're going to have what we mentioned from all those other places at Double Bay, and we'll have all those pictures with captions. We've got the photos. And this information today from this guy is 100% factual. He was a lifetime friend and worked with George for years.
He's told me a lot of stuff.
Thank you very much.
That we cannot.
Yeah, we won't. There's no names and nothing, but the information he's told us is really good. Yeah. So thank you.
Oh, we'll talk a bit more about it anyway.
For sure. Okay, we'll be back shortly. G'day and welcome back. Look, we've had to move viewers out of the rain because it's a pretty crappy autumn day, John.
It is, yeah.
And so we've moved just across the street. Maccas has got photos of this, but as we're standing and he's taken some footage, up on that light on that window was a cockatoo's nest.
That was the one.
Yeah.
That was where they could see up there, cross down there, over there, and they used to come through that door there.
There's two entrances, isn't there, John?
Well, there's another entrance on the side they could go through too, but this was the main one where the heavies used to wait there.
You'd sort of knock and you'd get a couple of big burly blokes.
And in those days, It was just accepted. When you went to an illegal place, you couldn't just turn up. They'd have to know you. And if you went there trying to get in your own, usually they'd say bring somebody back that knows you, and which was
good point. I was going to say that. Would they say who are you from, or you mention a name?
Oh no. You just had to know somebody, and the thing is, it was a good idea because if you wanted to get in there, you were going to get in there with somebody, and it saved them a lot of trouble because what we didn't mention. Yep. At all these illegal clubs, and including the ones that I used to go to before George, they had a lot of good-looking girls.
Yep.
And they used to serve free drinks.
I was going to say, would they run it sort of like a little American style? You'd have food, drinks, and
And if you're getting Bacardis for nothing, you're going to. So in the end, you don't know what you're doing.
And you keep throwing it on the table.
Keep throwing money on the table.
Beautiful. It's beautiful.
And, you get a drunk punter and you get a mug. You know. And like you said, for every mug born, there's another 10 mugs want to take him down.
Absolutely.
And that's what makes.
That's what the working girls used to call us. I mean, people mugs. They call you a mug.
Yeah.
Well,
I don't know anything about that. But.
No, either do I. Anyway, I want to make another point with George, Stan the Man, and Lenny. They were very. They made a big impression of the American organised crime mafia, the mob. They loved it. They loved it.
All those photos.
Yes.
McPherson was more than all that.
He was involved in all that. McPherson and Stan did a 6-week trip over there in '68.
They did. Yeah. And we're treated like royalty over there. You know. Yeah.
Absolutely. And George himself became friends with Joe Testa. He was an American businessman, mob connected.
I read that.
Yeah, did you read that? And they were good mates. And apparently when Joe was in town, he stayed at his house a few times.
Yeah. Well,
I'm very impressed by the American crime thing.
Well, another guy who was pretty heavy criminal at the time, one of the Mr. Bigs, you don't hear much about him, Joe Taylor, was a good bloke, but he
ran a few joints, yeah.
Yeah, he did it with George too. And now the thing is that Joe Taylor owned a racehorse birthday card, and he won the, I think it was 62 Golden Slipper. Yeah. So, I mean, and he gave a lot of money away when it won. Now, people talk about George, but George was very generous, and everyone that worked for him said he was over generous. So that's pretty smart.
He did. He looked after people.
Yeah, he looked after people, and I think that you've got to look after your workers, and a lot of people don't. And if you've got your workers on side, they become loyal, and they could even go and bite him. And he had plenty of money anyway, and he'd help him out. So from what,
just make sure you pay it back.
Yeah, well, you'd have to pay it back.
You have to pay it back. Yeah.
And I'm not going to talk about it. A very good friend of mine didn't pay me back, and he's dead and had nothing to do with George. But
Jesus,
money that he owed. And
now,
it had nothing to do with George, but he owed money everywhere.
He did end up dead,
and he finished up dead.
Yeah, I've seen it. I've done a few. We'll have to do something about Mick. And
Mick, when he went over to America and to Las Vegas. It's a true story. I was talking to my mate about it, confirmed this. The truth, and he rang his mate Bertie Kidd, who's a bit of a legend in Underworld. He's pretty old now.
Bertie Kidd,
yeah, but
he's not well.
He's not well, no. But he's I think 91. Bertie. But Mick rang him and said, "Look, I think he'd won about 400,000." And Bert said, "Jump on a straight plane and come straight home." He said, "No, I'm coming Monday morning." He rang him the next day. He was broke. He lost it. And that's a true story about Mick. That's a true story about Mick.
Couldn't do it. Couldn't do it, mate.
Yeah, but you're not a gambler.
I'm not a gambler.
Gamblers.
I would have wasted in other areas, but
gamblers will gamble what they've got. If they go in somewhere they've got $100, they'll gamble that. If they go in somewhere they've got 10 grand, they'll gamble that. If you go in with 100 grand, they'll gamble that. Because
it's funny you sort of say, "I'll just have a quick bet." No,
yeah.
No quick bet.
Well, Mick was famous for he'd chase his losses, and that's the worst thing. I used to do that. Worst thing in gambling can do when you're on a bad run.
Walk away.
Yeah,
that's what they say. But it's easier, I suppose, said than done. But yeah.
So Yeah, thinking about Mick, it's sad that he got killed, and it was definitely over gambling debts.
Yep.
Yeah,
The bloke was waiting for him in the flat, wasn't he, when he got home, I think?
well, when he got home, the lights were turned off at the veranda. It was down at Coogee, and he was drunk. Otherwise, he would have woke up.
And I believe he'd said to his brother, "Oh, I've got to be careful. They're after me." He knew something.
Oh, he knew they were after him, but yeah.
But anyway, we better get back on track.
Yeah. Well, it's connected. Mick was a good friend of George's.
Yeah.
But George wouldn't let him on the night. You know, he wouldn't do it. Wouldn't do that to him. You know, wouldn't do that
because he knew what was going to happen. And, yeah.
Well,
he just kept going.
Yeah.
But I never asked you, John. What was your relationship with George, mate?
I didn't know George, except I met him in jail. I met him there, and he came out to see Dr. Nick Paldos. Now, Dr. Nick
in the photo at the races.
Yeah. Well, he was a bad gambler too, Nick.
Yeah.
He was a brilliant doctor. Actually, they all went to him. Flannery, everybody went to him. You know, he was famous in the underworld as a doctor.
Yeah, wow.
But a bad gambler, Nick. Lovely bloke. Everybody loved him.
So he's the kind of doctor, John, if there was an injury that can't go to hospital or after hours?
Flannery kept the Boyd in court because he was getting stuff off Dr. Nick, saying he couldn't go. And they were getting sick of that, you know, because Flannery was in big trouble with some of the cases. And he was just one of them. But the fact is that I went and Dr. Nick called me over, and I knew who it was. And I went over, was on a visit, and he said, "John, I'd like to meet George." And George just stood up. And I was surprised. He wasn't very big. He wasn't
a little bit like me.
Yeah, but he had this great mob of white hair.
Yeah, white hair. He did, didn't he?
Thick white hair, yeah.
And a cigarette nailed to his lip.
No, he didn't have, not on a visit, but we shook hands, and he said, "How are you going?" I said, "Fine." And Dr. Nick said, John's a bank robber. He said, "Oh, good on you." So, you know, anyway, that was the only time.
That was the only time, yeah. And that brief meeting, he seemed all right.
Yeah. I could have rang him later when I got out and said, "Can I get on?" He probably would have let me on, but that would have been the end of it.
Yeah. Well, also, George, and it wasn't, there was a couple of, it was rumoured that to be involved in 2 murders. Now, we're not saying he was, but it was rumoured at the time. One was John Regan, 74, I think. Is that correct?
I don't think he was involved, mate. That's my opinion, yeah. But, you know,
Chris Flannery.
Yeah, and I'm staying out of it.
Yeah, exactly. No, but that was it. I just had to bring it up. It's rumoured that he was involved. We're not saying he was involved, and it's none of our business, but there was rumours
are out there, yeah.
The rumours are definitely out there.
But I got to say this with Chris Flannery, it's about 10 different theories. They're everywhere.
He way pushed his luck, didn't he? He upset a lot of people.
Oh, Chris upset a lot of people, yeah.
He upset a lot of people.
See, Chris, another one that we're talking about, Tamworth, he went through it down in Melbourne. Some of those boys' homes. Terrible things happened to him. I'm not going.
It's just sexual abuse. Yeah, we won't get, because we both get passionate about that.
We don't know what does to people's minds.
Yeah.
You know? And then he went to Haight Station, and he jacked
that.
Up.
Wouldn't have helped.
No.
Yeah.
And I was there when he was there in Haight Station. You know? And I know people say he wasn't there or this. He was there, he jacked up. And he jacked up. So I mean, that's that. I was there. Anybody want to argue about it? You know.
Regular bashings, I would imagine.
Oh, he got bashed a lot because he was bad, yeah. So he was, by the time he got out of there and came to Sydney, he had a chip on his shoulder, that bloody big.
And a bit too much rock candy as well.
Well, there's no doubt he killed people down in Melbourne before he came up here. There's no doubt.
He used to get really hyped up on the goey, I heard, but
yeah, well,
things like that just turned shocking.
But I do remember the day that he went missing. It was the 9th of May, 1985. You know, I got that memory. And
you've got a spot on. He's got a photographic.
The 9th of May, 1985. He went missing.
It is.
Yeah, that's when you think about that. That's 40 years. 40 years.
It was on Oxford Street
in 8 days. 40 years in over 8 days.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. It's a wealth of knowledge here in Sydney, like yourself, John. You know?
Yeah.
Well, in a minute, we're gonna just mention our sponsors in a sec as well, and make a couple of other announcements.
Well, Whitehall, I think we should mention because he's done me a favour recently, actually, Steve. From there. And the fact is,
Whitehall and Associates.
Yeah, and look, everybody I noticed, and that's only new. He was with the Warriors too. The Warriors apparently is.
It's wrapped up.
They wrapped it up. He's now with. With Whitehall, and look, the thing is that all we can say about it is that if you want a fair go, you go to Whitehall.
Yep.
If you want to, and they do any case at all. They doesn't matter what you want to do, whether it's domestic violence, whether it's suing the medical for something like that, whether it's getting defended, whether it's sexual abuse, whatever you want,
conveyancing, whatever, whatever,
anything that you want. They'll take it on. And what I like about them, and I know it's a pretty fact, is that if they feel they can't do you justice, will recommend.
Refer you on. Yeah.
They'll refer you to the right people. Now, not many lawyers will do that.
No.
Not many lawyers
No, they've been great supporters, and as everyone knows, and great help to us. Thank you, Steve, and the team. As I said, we'll hopefully one day get a bit of a chat going with them.
Well, we're definitely getting one of the team to come in and talk to us. We're really... we should set that up pretty soon, I think.
Yeah, I think so. It's all time constraints and finance constraints and everything.
But if we can pick the right day, we'll get it to come in maybe even 5 or 6 minutes to talk to us, explain it, and that'd be great because people need that. The type of people that look at it, watch our show, a lot of them sometimes need a lawyer too. You know? Oh,
absolutely. We've got a whole heap of stuff coming up too with 2 lady guests. We're still waiting on those when they get to Sydney.
Well, Marie French is just about finished the 2nd book.
Yep.
She's designing the cover now. She does her own covers. And this book looks like it's going to be real good. We got her. There's quite a few. We do need a female guest.
Oh, definitely. We've only had 2. I want a lot more. Yeah. But
they did well.
Yeah. No. Anyone that wants to make comments or anything like that, or if you're interested in coming on the show, we have an email. It's not activated yet. My friend Fiona's trying to do that. Hurry up, Fee. And which will be Maccas oldschoolpodcast.com. But we haven't. It's not quite activated yet. Once we get that going, if you've got a story or something you want to email us or a question or whatever, please do. And also we'll be using that email too because we're going to have some hats ready very soon. And I'd like to give away a few to some great supporters of ours. So
that'd be great.
Yep.
Definitely. And don't forget to, if you haven't subscribed to Maccas, please do.
Please do. We're at...
It
doesn't, John. And we're at 1250. Thank you very much. And we're just hitting 170,000 for the 55.
And please give us a like too. Sometimes they forget to like too. If you do like, give us a like at all.
Please do. Yeah. Costs nothing, and thanks very much for all your support. We'll wrap up with a summary of George, I think.
We've got to do Bernie Matthews soon, too.
We are going to do Bernie Matthews, and Bernie Matthews was a fantastic friend of John's. Well, I was going to call you George, John.
Everybody loved him.
Yeah. Interesting man, life of crime, and then a very well-known journalist. He did all sorts of stuff.
He's the only prisoner I know get out of jail and become a fully fledged journalist.
Yeah, amazing.
That shows his ability to...
He was into some stuff and a bit of drugs and a bit of this and a bit of all sorts.
Bernie was in everything, but plenty of go in him.
Yeah.
Went to Grafton 4 times. I don't know anyone.
Everyone speaks very highly of him, though.
Oh, yeah.
He's a real good bloke, you know. So, but look, today was George. We should summarise George, and we're right near, as we've said, we got Dangar. Is that I pronounce that right? Dangar Street and Place.
Yeah.
So where Lee and Franchi happened. That's about nearly 5'5". We did that 20-something episodes ago. We did the Lee and Franchi one.
Can I tell you something about
Please. Please.
Story. This is funny. When he got out, he lived at Bathurst with some good friends of his and mine. And
Bernie Matthews.
Yeah. Anyway, just before he got out, I went with those friends to a nice cafe in the hotel. There was a hotel there. And it was, they were partying on and on. And as we're coming out, this is a true story, as we're coming out, my mate and his girl are ahead of me. This young blonde, I think I might have told you, run over. She's only about 22, grabbed me, pulled me, and kissed me.
Oh, dear.
And full on.
Half your luck.
And I was in total shock. Like, what the hell? And my mate was laughing, and Kathy, she was laughing too. And anyway, we left. Guess what? Bernie got out a week later. He tried to track us down.
How'd you go?
He spent a month trying to find it, never found it. That's Bernie.
That's a lucky thing, isn't it?
Yeah. But I don't know why she did it. She might have been a bet or something. Yeah, she might have. You might have said it
Works for you.
Yeah, works for this old guy. Yeah.
Isn't that fantastic? Isn't that fantastic?
You couldn't make things like that up.
No, you can't. You can't. You're a wealth of knowledge, Johnny. You're a bloody champion, mate, I tell you. Anyway, look, summarising, we better finish up George. We better finish up with some summary points of George. He basically met Lenny McPherson in the 1950s, Long Bay. They became friendly, I believe, from the 50s through to about 67, 68. Of that 9 years, he was into gambling and whatever, shoplifting, things like that. And that's where we became friends. They started from there, SP, and then phone betting. And then
strength to strength,
just expanded and kept expanding at great strength.
He had a lucky night one night, too, at the poker. He won a huge amount of money down at Double Bay. And the thing
what was that approximately, John?
It's probably worth today be maybe the equivalent to 400,000.
Yeah, that's big coin. Yeah.
He won it on one hand. Now that's what I've been told, and I don't doubt this guy just doesn't lie at the time of stuff. But the thing is, what you've got to remember when you look at all this stuff, that illegal gambling was huge in those days.
Yep.
That's why they brought in the TAB. Until they brought in tabs in the mid '60s, every street had one or two bookies. SP bookies. Every street. Might have been, your mate downstairs. Might have been across the lady to cross the street. But they all ran books.
Some weird laws too, isn't it?
Yeah.
When prohibition and things like that, you're still going to get lawyers and coppers having a pun or a drink or anything.
Yeah, but they paid off the cops.
Yeah.
Every pub had an SP bookie. They were the good old days, They were the good old days because, the TAB takes, I think, about 18% tax out of every bet you put in. If people bet $1 million on a race, big race, someone's a bet $3 million on a big race, the tab takes about 18% out of that and then plays the rest back. So imagine how much money they're taking. That's just one race. They're taking 18%.
Making a fortune, mate.
Out of every bet that's put on, the tab takes 18%. So there's just no amount. You can't even put a figure on how much.
It's just making a fortune, mate.
But what they're doing, they're taking it off the poor SP bookies. What are they going to do?
Well, Bunnings destroyed hardware. I mean, I suppose.
But anyway, it's all gone legal. There's still a few around, SP, but there's not many. There's not many around. And
no, not really now, is there? I mean, like you say, it would have been a huge business,
But you've got to say this, that the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, even early 90s,
golden.
They were golden years. These sort of people are never coming back.
No.
It's a different era.
Yep.
We've got different types of crews.
Yep.
We've got different types of stories. And
that's why we're trying to keep it alive. Because you talk to a lot of young people, it's like, who's Freeman? Who's Abe Saffron? Who's Lenny? Who's this and that? Well, we're trying to tell you who they were.
Well, you've got the right podcast, Maccas Old School, because they're all old school.
They are.
They're all
and
old
it's
school.
it's something that people should know about.
Yeah.
Aussie criminal history, and it is.
Yeah, absolutely.
It happened. But finishing off with George.
55 when he died.
55 when he died, 20th of March 90, didn't he? And 55, due to the asthma and borderline heart failure.
Yeah.
Big smoker.
Yeah.
Everyone was back then.
Except me.
Yeah, 50. Yeah, but you're smarter than us, John. He was 50 or 60 a day.
I just punted.
Yeah.
That takes a lot out of the heart too.
Well,
when you're losing money.
Well, just make it up with the ladies. But anyway, so summarising, that was George. A little bit of George Freeman we've done today. This is the joint. This was one of the main joints.
definitely.
and we're close to
And
Dango.
we'll show photos of the other ones.
Yeah, we'll show photos. We've got Double Bay, we've got Chinatown, we've got quite a few.
You've got to remember a very important guy in the racing world, Jack Sparrow, actually opened this one.
Yeah, yep.
And he was a bit of a legend himself, but more on a racetrack.
Yep.
He was a tipster, and he'd go over to England and they'd treat him like royalty. This is Australia's best tipster. And he played the
Oh, you would have loved it.
Hey, you loved it, yes.
Ascot.
Yeah, Ascot.
Yeah.
The works,
He would have loved it. He would have loved it.
Australia's best tipster, Jack Sparrow here, you know. They loved it. Yeah.
What a great name, Jack Sparrow. Right?
Yeah.
What a classic name.
Yeah, so, and then you've got, like, some of the people involved in the others, Joe Taylor, I mean, a really big name in the underworld. There's just Bruce Gallier.
And Gallier I'd heard of.
Yeah,
and you said
he's dead now. His father was huge. They called him the Black Prince.
So he took over that joint in the 80s, which was...
that's right, Potts Point.
Potts Point. That was the one I was trying to think of. So he took over and then George got involved in that one from there, I believe.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So...
All right.
But look, there's a little taste of another one of the old school legends of Sydney, George. And you know, I think we've tapped on a few things here. The information from the gentleman was great. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
I think that's
he's a mind. Love to get
100%. We've said.
Love to get him on the show. I don't think he'd ever come on though.
No. And we won't mention any names, but it's facts. What he's told us, it's no bullshit. He was a friend of George's and worked with him for many years. So
and he does have a photographic memory. So,
yeah. Well, that makes two of you. I don't. I'm still struggling. But anyway, so say take 3-1. A couple of quick things. Georgia from Brown Sugar Bakery, Foresters Beach. I mentioned it ages ago. I think I got all the names except hers. Thank you, Georgia. They're great staff there at Brown Sugars. Extra, that's at Battersea Bay Square Shopping Centre. I've got a lot of friends up the coast. These hats, extra, thank you very much. They've got all the Retro League, Newtown. So if you're up that way, Battersea Bay Square, check it out. They provide all my hats. I've got West Tigers today.
Gloria was wearing one.
Go to those Tigers.
Gloria was wearing one yesterday.
Was it? Yeah, Gloria's got a bunch. Yeah. I love me hats. I was born in a hat.
Yeah, they're good. I like them too.
Yeah, I was born in a hat in a hole. So I wanted to mention, and there's something I'm going to bring up later on the episode, a comment from a bloke called Matthew, who's had a lot of trouble with insurance and that. He, as a younger bloke, had a bit of crime. Completely on the straight now, can't get his house insured, can't get anything done. I'll talk to you more about that and look into it. Just a way that he'd done some car theft, I presume, things like that. And he's been punished his whole life for it. You know, if they say yes to his insurance, it's about 3 times the price. He's done his thing, he's working, he's cleaned his slate. So all I can say is, you know, insurance companies, look into it a bit more, and if they've give them another chance and give it a try. If they stuff up, fine, they own it. But try and give them a chance. And thank you for your comment, Matthew.
It's the way the establishment works.
Yep.
And it's worked that
punished for life,
hundreds of years. Yep. And I think it's going to change.
No, I agree. But I'll look further into that, Matthew, and I had no idea. And he's been punished for years. And he said, mate, I'm doing the right things, but I can't get house insurance, I can't get car insurance, and it might be a small thing, but it's a big thing to a lot of people. It's a big thing to a lot of people.
There's nothing worse
through this your whole life.
Well, there's nothing worse than you lose something, gets stolen or gets wrecked, and you're not insured.
Yeah.
It can stuff you up.
This bloke's been through the clappers, and he's I don't know if he knows Mountie, but he's left some lovely comments with Mountie, and a big supporter, and likes the show. So Matthew, we'll look into it a bit more, mate. And but any insurance companies, just look into it as not look into it. People don't look into stuff these days. Look into it, and if they're on the straight, give them a go. Be different to the rest. Anyway,
yeah, I'd like to say hello to Ray Mooney too. We're going to get you on eventually this year, aren't you?
100%. G'day, Ray. We had him on for a part 1. I think he's running about 6'4", 6'5". He's done well.
I told him today in an email he's going great.
He's a terrific guy. I briefly spoke to him when you were in Melbourne
he's
on the phone.
Rider.
Oh,
prolific.
He's a very intelligent guy, and I've said for ages, and I've said the last year, I felt awful. We will have you, Mr. Mooney, on for another part 2 when we can all do it, but that's 100%. I won't go back on that. So,
right.
Thank you very much. Well, John, thanks for the day. Hey, I miss him. He's a good man. Thank you, Maccas. John, it's a shocking day. Go them Tigers. It's a shocking day out here. But thanks very much.
Yeah, look, I think it's a good subject today.
Yes.
We spoke about a guy that when you talk about the underworld in Sydney,
Yep.
particularly 70s, 80s, 70s, 80s mainly, George Freeman was right up there.
Absolutely. And that's what people like, I think. 70s, 80s, 90s. That's what we're trying to focus on at the moment.
90, you know, but,
That's right. Yeah, I remember when he died. Yeah.
20th of
I
March.
come back from Canberra. I was back in Sydney and I thought, oh, geez. Yeah.
There's something about March, isn't there?
There's something about, yeah.
Lucy and I took off on the 25th, you know.
The Ides of March. Hey?
That's right.
But, yeah. All right. Well, thanks very much, everyone. That was number 56. We're back soon for 57.
Yeah.
We're going to go through 1,057, John, I think. You know, we're not giving up.
We'll keep going.
We're
Yeah.
going to keep going, mate. So thank you to everyone.
First one will be when I'm 100.
Yeah, that's right. Well, we're doing the special show when you're 100. Yeah, that's a fair way away yet. But, you know, the only thing is I don't know if I'll be alive, so I'll get someone to replace me.
Marcus.
Marcus, you'll have to replace me. I think a little fella will go first, mate. But
I don't think so. You look pretty fit to me.
anyway, looks sort of deceiving, John. Anyway, thanks very much, everyone. That was episode 56. 56, I'm cutting myself.
Yeah.
And we'll be back to 57 soon. We've got so many stories to get through. We've got a heap coming. Keep going the old school.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks very much. Thanks, Marcus. All the best. Bye.